Hello and welcome to Cards and Coaching. Today I would like to bring up a subject. I did not even know it was a subject for years. As you can imagine, it concerns tarot, but also their reversals. The point is, are you reading reversals, yes or no? Do you think that they are important, yes or no? For many years this wasn't even a subject in my surroundings, and still, since I started being on Facebook and in Facebook groups, the question comes up quite often. And I would like to share my point of view, especially for people who are beginning and who might have the same problem I had in the beginning. There are so many cards, there are so many symbols in the card, there are so many definitions concerning the card that I was struggling with the idea that I was not only reading this card in an upright position, but that I also had to read it in a reversed position. And I had enough to do with understanding what the card meant upright. So I saw in the books that there was an explanation, but for me it was learning by heart, and for me it is very difficult to learn by heart, and I rather link my intuition to the symbols I see on the card. I link it to what I see in the card, the scenery itself, the person, how the person is acting, like what the person or how the person is looking, or what the person is looking at. So it is very difficult for me to say it has a different meaning when I turn the card upside down. Honestly, but it is my opinion, it is a little bit as if you would say you go to a museum and someone is turning the Mona Lisa upside down. I'm not really sure that's the point of it. That doesn't mean that if you need and you like the idea of having a different idea on what a reversal means, that this is not okay. If you read like that and you are totally fine by it, I am totally fine by it too. But unfortunately, I very often get reactions like a person who is not reading reversals is not a good tarot reader. And I know quite some tarot readers who don't read reversals and who are very good at their job. So I would like to show you a little bit what my problem was from the beginning on, and why I left it aside and actually developed my own way, coming up with the different facets of a card without needing a reversal. So let me try and explain a little bit further why it was such a struggle for me to read the cards in a reversed version. So you can see, I just bring up two examples where it seems to be very simple and very easy. We have the Ace of Cups, and it is in the upright, the meaning maybe birth or happy news. And in a reversed version, it may be selfishness. And Seven of Wands, which in the upright is enthusiasm, might mean a lack of confidence when it is turned around. And so that seemed quite easy for me. So you have a card with a certain meaning, and it gets the different meaning. It gets an opposite meaning the moment the card is reversed. And for me that sounded like a good idea, to have a way to find out what meaning is meant for the moment being. But it's not that simple. So we have this Four of Wands, and then you have upright. Upright, it's a celebration, and reversed, well, it maintains its positive meaning, but it's a surprise. Or the Ten of Swords, which upright is betrayal, and reversed, it is a physical harm. So it was not something you could rely on, or I could not rely on, to say, if I have a negative card, reversed it becomes positive, and if it is a positive card, reversed it becomes negative. And for me that meant that I had to learn by heart the different meanings. And I can't learn by heart. And I am pretty sure I am not the only one with that struggle. So with the time I developed a different way to bring in the meanings and then really have more positive meaning or more negative meaning, depending simply on the position of a spread. Because you have the right to make your own spreads. You have a right not to use a Celtic cross or the typical spreads that you find somewhere. When you think it is easier to come up with a spread and to develop a spread where you say, I have typical negative positions and typical positive positions, you have the right to try it out and again to find out what is working for yourself. So one of my ideas is, it's an example, to have a spread that is simply bringing up the problem, the solution, and in the middle the path. So then you have 3 different ways to read a card. So you might have a problem and a card becomes the problem. So I got this reaction once that someone said, how do you want to read the sun as a problem card? You cannot tell me that's a positive card. No, if someone is for too long in the sun and gets sunburned, that may be a physical way to take a look at the card. And sometimes tarot is as pragmatic as that. Or someone says, no, there was so much light and it was disturbing me and I didn't have the possibility to retrieve because everyone was just taking a look at myself, and the person may be taking the card of the sun as being in the spotlight and wanted to retrieve at that moment. So that card can absolutely be a negative card or a card that shows a problem. And you have a solution card, a solution position, and the solution position can give you the opportunity to take a positive look at a card that seems absolutely negative. If I take a look at the Ten of Swords, it took very long. It took me very long to find a positive thing in it, until I found out that actually it also meant that I didn't have to fight. Maybe I lost the fight, but that also meant that I could let go of it and use the energy for something else, for something new, for something more creative. And so maybe the other people were still trying to hit me in my back, but I actually wasn't there anymore so that they could attack me or that I could feel attacked by it, because I simply retrieved out of the situation, which I had in a German forum, for example. And the path gives me the possibility to find a step between the problem and the solution, and maybe use a card in a way to balance both sides. So for me, what is important are to take, to be aware and to pay attention to different steps, to different aspects. So first of all, what is important for me is reading to a querent means, first of all, listening to that querent. Because it's only by listening to the person that I can understand how a card can be considered to be a problem and how another card can be shown as a solution, to open the customer, to open the querent up to the idea of a solution, even if the card seems to be a negative card. That is only possible if I listen to the querent, if I am becoming aware of his vocabulary, for example, to use this. And I know that now people are going to say, oh, that's cold reading and you're manipulating him. A querent comes to me because he has a problem. So it's not a negative manipulation if I'm helping him with his own vocabulary to find the steps to his solution. Because I cannot propose him a solution, but I can help him creating that solution out of his own mindset, to change his mindset. That is my job as coach and counselor. If you read for yourself, especially in the beginning, do not forget about your present mood and feelings. You may take a card and look at the card and you're in a very bad mood and you think that it is a very negative card, and even if all the books tell you, oh no, this card is nice and shiny, for you it's negative. Please consider this to be important, because you are important. And if you start understanding the cards out of your own mood, it helps you later on to better understand a current, to be more empathic to the current, because you know the struggle, because you can understand the struggle, even if you don't know this exact individual struggle the current has, but it helps you finding out about how to manage the situation, maybe because you manage to get a different understanding on a card. And I said in another video, if you start reading, or if you start with tarot, people say, yes, take one card per day. And I'm saying, no, take one card every 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Because there's so much to see in it, there's so much to experience, and there's so much to link to, that a day isn't enough. And maybe you take a look in the beginning of your exercise with one card, and you find it is very negative, as I said, for that one, or you consider it to be positive, of a card like the Four of Wands. And maybe as you go along in the month, and you have good moods and you have bad moods, and you have good experiences and you have bad experience, you find out how they still link to that same card, so that later on, when someone comes up with a situation, you will be faster to understand what part of the card, or what aspect of the card is the aspect that actually mirrors the situation of the current. Another part is for me to exercise to find the greater subject of a card. So if I'm taking, for example, I like this card, the Ace of Cups. For me, it has a lot to do with the source, going back to your source, but also your resources. So the greater subject may be simply resource and resources, and the two sides and the faces is the cup full and you can resource out of it, or is it empty, and what can you do to fill it again, or what do you want to fill it with? And so that is the way that you find out that it is it hasn't anything to do with duality, but with polarity. So you have two poles of one greater subject, and you have all the steps and facets in between. And you have to find out with the feeling and with the experience how it fits into your situation. That does not mean that whatever situation you have, you can read each card for every situation, what a lot of critics are going to tell you. But to find out if the card, if it shows, is it simply showing you a problem, or is it giving you already an idea of where the solution is going to lie, or what you are not seeing anymore? So it is not simply that subject and you are using every card and you can just use it to explain the situation, but what part of the situation, what part of your greater subject of your situation is it, the greater image? So a problem that we have is only a part of a greater image, and the card may show you a lot of points around the whole thing of the greater image, and may help you to find another focus in that greater image. And another thing that you need to exercise as you go along is to link the meaning of the cards, as I just explained, to the different situations or the question. So what I do is, when a person comes to me and has a problem, I let the person talk, and as we go along, there are questions that are going to be formed. And that is the moment where I say, why don't we try to find an answer with a card? And the person picks a card at that moment. Which means that depending on the way the querent or maybe yourself are formulating the question, you have to find out how is the card answering the question. For example, don't come up with yes and no questions, because they are rarely answered with tarot cards. Tarot cards are far bigger and have far more information to simply answer in black or white. And maybe the card is showing you that actually the question that you are asking is not the correct question, and may show you what the question is that you should be asking, and then you get the answer and the question out of the card. So let's say someone has a difficulty in a relationship, and the One of Cups, the Ace of Cups comes up. Maybe the card is telling him it's not about the relationship with someone in the outside. It is about your relationship with yourself, with your own emotion. Instead of trying and projecting it, maybe it has something to do with yourself. How are you caring for your own emotions? Are you resourcing yourself, or are you just giving everything to the other person, or are you using the other person as a resource? So that way you see, you might have the question about how is it going on with my partner, and the card is just turning the question onto yourself. How are you doing with yourself? How is the relationship with yourself? And that way, this is an exercise. This is something that you're not going to learn the first time you're using cards. This is not a thing that you learn in the beginning. Please become aware. First of all, be patient with yourself, with the exercises you do, and be aware of the importance of your own experiences, so that you find your little extra when you read the cards that makes you unique in your card reading, for yourself as well as for someone else. There is one small extra, little fun thing that I would like to tell you about reading cards only in the upright version. It has a lot to do with how you're shuffling your cards. I know a lot of people who put them on their platform, on their desk, and they are riffle shuffling them, or they are using this poker way to put the cards together. I don't like to do that. Okay, so actually my decks are all each time with all the cards upright, and I'm simply shuffling them like this. So the cards will not end up in a reversed position. And I'm not going to change this, because I don't like it if my deck is just with cards upside down. And if by any chance, because I have shown a card to somewhere and the person put it in a certain way and it was upside down, if such a card turns up, does that mean I don't pay attention to it? Sure, I do. But I simply pay attention to it in a way to say that I am taking a better look at it. Why was it upside down? Maybe there is a message more behind it. I'm going to note it. But I am not, and definitely not, going to read it then in a reversed way or an upside down way, with all this way of not having an idea, a straight line through what reversals mean. Because once it's that, it's not negative, positive. And I think it may be more important to simply take another look what you can do. For example, if you are going for this same idea and you have a card upside down, take another deck and check the card in that other deck. And maybe there is an information in it that you might have been missed by using the same deck all the time. That is, so first of all, because why I don't have reversals. That is the way how I handle a reversal if one turns up from time to time. And for the rest, I think, first of all, the cards in themselves have so much meaning and symbolism in it. If you have learned all the meaning and all the symbolism, you become first of all aware that maybe you don't need a reversal, and you are busy for a long time anyway. Those are my hints on how to work with it, especially for people who begin and maybe struggling with it, and maybe it gives you an idea on how to use the cards again in your own individual way, with or without reversals. As I said, it's always your own choice. Try both of it. Try to find out what functions for you. This is just an idea, just a hint, just an offer to take another look at it. And as always, thanks for watching.